how has your career impacted you as a parent?
Well, I think at the most basic level, financially it's helped. While I think that can be a very dangerous trap of thinking that finances cure things, it definitely can mitigate things and make certain things easier. So that's been one. That's one thing I don't have to worry about right now with my daughter, which is important to me. And I think the balance for anyone, going through that is how do you raise them in a way where that actually doesn't become a disadvantage later in their life because they were too taken care of. You know what I mean? To me that, she's very young right now, so I don't have to worry about that yet. But at some point, you know what I mean? We can't be eating from the silver spoon because she needs to learn to be scrappy. Like that's how I was taught, you know what I mean? And, there's the saying like, it's the cycle of, so I would say that was one thing. And I think, the drawback is, you and I have talked about this before, is like you now have to balance things way differently because you're not, it isn't about just growing the business and being this diehard entrepreneur anymore. There's other aspects you have to take into account, and I think that we hit that with the Chasing Success episode. And that can be a really vulnerable thing too, because we're competitive. We want to compete. We want to win. So, it's 8:00 at night and you want to be firing out those emails and, you know what I mean? You should be doing other things and just being present. And that is hard. It's a hard adjustment, particularly when you're as competitive as I am, because, there's still work to be done. And to me, there's this weird feeling like on after hours and on the weekends, I've always had the thought, okay, if this was a foot race, this is when no one else is running, right? So if you want to either catch up to the people that are way ahead of you in the race, now's when you run. And if you're ahead, this is where you widen the gap even more. And it's always been this. So like 9:00 at night, it's almost like it's impossible not to fire up the computer and start working because it's like everyone else is not racing right now and I can race. But as we know, you don't want to be that 80-year-old that didn't have relationships with your kids. So I think it goes both ways. They're definitely very good things. And it can provide structure and some comfort, but it needs to be balanced.
Have you found yourself, because Ren is 2 years and she took 2.5, yeah. Have you found yourself moving towards what you would say is like a more organic balance and flow with your responsibilities as a father in your career? Or is it something that it's a continuing challenge, like you said, of knowing when to shut off, knowing when to like separate from work? Do you feel yourself moving towards a better balance?
Well, whether it's a good thing or not, full-time single dad right now, right? So in a way, I there was no other alternative. And I think when you're co-parenting in the same household, it's like one can cover down. You can kind of both split duties. Like, hey, I'm going to go on this beach run. You got her for a minute. Or, hey, I'm going to go down to the garage, But when it's just you, by default, like the phone's got to go off. I mean, it's like constant attention. If you look away for a minute, you know what I mean? She could be climbing on the table with a black Sharpie drawn on you know what I mean? Like, so that's honestly been a really awesome adjustment. And it was almost by necessity. Because when I come home, and from like 5:30 to 7:30, it's just me and her time and that's it. And I obviously every once in a while a Slack will come in or something, a quick hitter, and you can like respond to it. But for the most part, phone goes down. And it's been a really good adjustment. And then it's like after hours, that's when, when she's down, I can, get other stuff done, but I'm also trying to balance my own mental health stuff. So it's like, all right, do I fire up the computer and work for 2 hours, or do I go do hot, cold tub contrasting and then go to bed at 9:30 after reading like a book? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's you can do either. Obviously one will advance the business. The other one is better for your own mental health. You know what I mean? And physical health too. So
yeah. And there's, I'm sure you could relate to this, is when you're in those moments with your child, obviously they're precious. Not obviously, they are precious, but they're exhausting. And it can leave you feeling kind of like, hey, I haven't had 30 seconds to think a thought about my day or what I want, which there's benefits to that. There's like a self-sacrifice and kind of just grounding that occurs from that. On the flip side though, I do think it leaves two very clear decisions when you do have downtime to yourself, whether the little one goes to sleep or not. It's like, am I going to now do what's best for me? Or am I going to detach to feel like I've been able to relax for a little bit? Now, everybody's relaxing is different, but I'm sure you could relate to like having, okay, kids down for sleep. Should I have 2 glasses of wine and watch a show? Or should I do cold tub, sauna, and go to sleep? Like those, and maybe there's even a balance within there, but I know that pull of like, oh, okay, do I stay dialed and really focus on myself, or do I take some time to relax? Which for some people that may be relaxing, but that can be a slippery slope too, where you validate those decisions then because you are busy all day, and then you get some momentum going, and it's been 30 days, and now all of a sudden your routine is drinking 2 glasses of wine and watching a show, and you're not taking care of yourself. So is that something you felt a pull towards one way or the other?
Yeah, and I think that's what we talked about, the kind of the ideal day versus the realistic day. And we're all human, right? So yeah, 100%. If you had a really stressful day here at BP, and then, she's being a little bit squirrely at home, and by the time you get down to the living room, it's like 8:30 and you're smoked. Yes, of course, hey, let's have a couple glasses of wine and watch some Netflix like that. I think that's an okay thing. But you have to realize the second and third order effects of that, if that's consistent, is like, alcohol destroys your sleep. We all know that. It doesn't I think it only takes a couple drinks in your sleep. So now you're behind the game the next day. So now you don't handle stress and adversity the next day because you're compromised. You get less REM, deep sleep, all that, and then now you have a stressful day there. And then what do? Oh, I need a third glass of wine because I'm even more stressed. And I think it could become a slippery slope. But those other things, even though it is relaxing, I still see it as work, doing the cold tub and hot tub at night. To me, that's still a task. I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to go do this. And maybe some people can get there. So I think it's a matter of, trying to be as disciplined as you can, but also like giving yourself some grace. There's a lot of people on social media, particularly from the community I came from, that kind of, I think, pretend like they live this freaking Spartan life. And it's like, I know there's times they're not like that. And it almost pisses me off because I think it gives the perception to the average Joe that like,
you're not enough.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, hey man, like if you got to miss a workout one day, or you don't get up at 5 a.m. and hit a run because it's pouring rain out, like you're fine. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit, to me, over the top. But you should still strive to live a disciplined life because, by being disciplined, it will unlock other levels of happiness that you wouldn't otherwise achieve.